With the number of master grades released dwindling year after year, each new release has had the spotlight shown on them now more than ever before, and the master grade narrative Gundam C-Pax Ver.Ka is no exception. Each new master grade can't just settle for good anymore. They have to go above and beyond to become the next big thing for the line. So the question here is, how good is this kit really? Let's find out in today's review. What's good, my dudes? Today we're going to be taking a look at the narrative Gundam C-Pax Ver.Ka. Now let's start off the review by taking a look at the aesthetics first and foremost. For this portion of the review, I want to take a look at the kit with the psychoframe off first and then move on to it with the psychoframe on. So here's the narrative Gundam without any of the psychoframe on. And as you can see, the design itself is quite basic and lacking in armor, which is by design. So if you don't know, canonically, the narrative Gundam is actually a prototype of the new Gundam, which explains a lot of why the design itself looks so unfinished. Certainly not a design for everybody, but I do like this as a concept. As for the build, it's pretty much what you've come to expect from any modern Ver.Ka build. A solid kit with excellent detailing on both the inner frame and the armor. This kit does have a few new tricks up its sleeves, but they're not groundbreaking by any means. First off, these stickers here are not the usual foil stickers. They're like these hard plastic stickers that are similar to the ones used on the MGX Strike Freedom, and more importantly, unlike the usual stickers which are one solid color, these actually do have a little bit of extra detail on them, which is a really nice touch. The hands, or the manipulators, are also a huge improvement compared to the previous designs of the posable hands. The design of these hands are actually quite similar to the MG 2.0 Xeon hands, but fortunately they're a lot more solid of a design, so it can actually hold their weapons no problem, and there's no need to worry about their fingers falling off like the pre-molded hands. I'll talk a little bit more about these when I get to the accessories. Lastly, this kit also doesn't come with a action base adapter, and instead you lift this hatch up over here and then you insert the action base inside. So that's one less part to deal with overall. Now let's check out this kit with the psychoframe on. Attaching the psychoframe onto this kit is incredibly simple and also really solid. I never really felt as if anything was gonna break or fall off, although I still would recommend being gentle with the kit and not forcing any of the parts in. So here's the narrative Gundam with both the activated and deactivated NTD modes. There's a nice amount of surface detail on each of the parts, but they are ABS plastic, so if you do want to panelize the gray parts to bring out more of its details, you will have to top coat the parts first. I really like how the Gundam has the psychoframe bolted on, maintaining that hastily put together prototype look. One thing to note is that these psychoframe parts are actually the same ones used on the old MG unicorns, meaning that they are interchangeable. So you can actually have a narrative Gundam with a yellow, green, or a blue psychoframe if you really want to. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the MG unicorns, but I will have a photo right about now showing up on the side of the screen in case you are curious of how it does look like. Credit to this Twitter user, by the way. There is a link to their profile in the description below. On to articulation, starting off with the head, which is able to look up very slightly and able to look down all the way. It can also move 360 degrees. The shoulders are on a butterfly joint and can move both forward and backward with ease. They can also do a full 360 degree rotation at the shoulder, and the shoulder pads can also move up and down, while the arms can be raised up all the way. There's a full 360 degree bend at the bicep, and the arms can fold up all the way thanks to a double joint at the elbow. The forearms are also connected using a swivel, and the hands are on a ball joint. The upper forearm also has this very slight side to side movement. The front skirts are on this double ball jointed peg, which allows for a ton of movement, and the side skirts can move up very slightly and side to side. The back skirts can also move up and down. The waist can also swivel around all the way. The legs can also be dropped down, and the pelvis has this interesting movement in order to adjust for the fact that it doesn't have an ab crunch. The legs can also move forward, backward, and to the side. The top of the thigh is on a swivel. You get a nice full knee bend here with some great armor separation. The foot itself is on a swivel, so you can get some really nice forward, backward, side to side movement. Overall, articulation here is very impressive, and the only real limit here is your imagination. For accessories, let's start off by taking a look at the beam rifle. It has a pretty nice amount of surface detail with the seam lines either not visible or cleverly hidden. The magazine at the bottom over here is also removable, so you can get a really nice reloading pose. You also get some extra parts to turn the regular narrative beam rifle into the Jegan beam rifle. However, you don't get enough parts to get two of these rifles, so you're stuck with either one. Pick your poison. You do, however, get a second magazine, so you can actually mount one of them on the back skirt. With the introduction of this kit, Bandai has introduced a completely new hand design that actually works for once. Now, the way you actually get the beam rifle into the hand works a little bit differently compared to older kits. So with the grip of the beam rifle, you get a second smaller part that you take off, slide it into the hand, and then you attach the rest of the beam rifle onto said smaller part. And this connection itself is actually really secure, and the weapon itself shows no signs of falling out at all. The design of the shield itself isn't too different from other older MG shield designs, but it does include the psychoframe, of course. That being said, it does have some really nice color separation, like the gray shield on the back and the missiles on the bottom. I also found that the shield is a little bit thicker when compared to other shield designs. I think it's mainly to compensate for the psychoframe itself. Removing the psychoframe from the shield itself is a little bit difficult when compared to the mobile suit, since the parts on the shield itself are a little bit more tightly fit than the ones on the mobile suit. The process is still, however, quite simple and straightforward. You also get this separate piece to mount the shield onto the arm. Now, the way the part itself is designed, it makes it really simple to adjust the shield on the Narrative Gundam's arm, as simple as it can be. It's also really flexible in terms of how many positions you can actually get out of the shield itself. Also important to note that you get two of these arm braces, so you can actually mount them on both the right and the left arm. Another thing to note is that on the back of the shield, you also have this extra peg, which can be mounted onto the backpack of the Narrative Gundam. You can also adjust it however you want. The beam sabers are pretty much what you expect from any other Gundam model kit. They're mounted on the back, you put the little effect part, and then you plug it into the hand. Pretty standard stuff. What is interesting about this, however, is that the beam fluorescent effect, that's really similar to the psychoframe. You also get a beam saber rack part for when the psychoframe is not on the Narrative Gundam. And lastly, now we're going to be taking a look at the core block and core fighter modes. The core block itself, when it's inside the Narrative Gundam, is actually quite secure. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall out at any moment if you hold it from a certain angle, unlike the RX-78-2 3.0, and it fits seamlessly into the rest of the design as well. Now, transforming it into core fighter mode is actually quite simple and seamless as well. Even just looking at the core fighter itself, it doesn't even feel like it has some sort of transformation gimmick that's able to make it fit inside the Narrative Gundam at all. It also comes with some landing gear parts, so it can actually be posed while it's not flying. However, it doesn't come with an extra core block, so you can't have both the Narrative Gundam and the core fighter displayed at the same time. You can also open up the cockpit like many other MGs. And finally, let's do a quick size comparison. So here it is next to the MG Exia. So the Narrative Gundam does have a little bit more shelf presence than the regular size Gundams. It doesn't really tower over them, and it's not really huge by any means, but it is noticeably larger. So to wrap up my final thoughts on this review, I gotta say that this kit is one of the best MG kits out there right now, super easily. But frankly, that shouldn't be a surprise to any of you who are watching. So the articulation is super impressive, probably some of the best articulation I've seen in any MG kit. The details with the foil stickers are just insane, not to mention that there's no color correcting stickers. There is, however, one issue in terms of color inaccuracy. The cockpit itself is a clear color, but in the original movie the cockpit is actually a dark blue, so you do have to paint that if you really want to. I've also noticed that during the build itself there are certain pieces that are pretty fragile. The issue that I've seen to have noticed that popped up a lot was the issue of the cockpit itself. It's really fragile. I think mine actually broke. I had to glue mine back together, and the fix actually isn't perfect either, but it's not very noticeable, so it's fine. Apart from that, the arms itself are a little bit thinner at the biceps. Well, because normally you usually have like a bit of armor around the arm itself, so when in this case it doesn't have any armor, it tends to fall out a little bit more. It seems like the pegs itself aren't securing the arms enough, but I've only really noticed this happen when I had both the rifle and the shield on it. But when it's holding just the shield or the rifle or just the beam sabers, it doesn't really have this problem. Apart from the psychoframe, which is like my second favorite part of the kit, I really like that it's compatible with oral unicorn kits, especially considering that it makes sense for them to be compatible in universe and all. The other part that I really like are the hands themselves. I like how Bandai is actually trying to push for a way to make the opposable hands actually work instead of just giving up on them. So this is something that makes me really hopeful for the future of MG kits. The design itself is almost perfect. The only real issue I have with it is that you don't have the option to kind of just snip them in between. You're actually stuck with the 3-finger, 1 index finger design and the thumb, because the way that they're designed, the little web in between the hands themselves are on the ball joint. So if you snip the parts where the hands are actually not on them, they'll actually just fall apart entirely. Also, the way that the hands are designed, they're supposed to only have 2 ball joints, so you're kind of stuck with the hand design either way, unless you make some massive modifications to the kit itself. But apart from that, the hand design is fantastic. It works. It is still a bit difficult to clean up, but apart from that, a fantastic addition that's really expressive and adds a lot to the kit. There is also a lack of the action-based adapter kit and actually being installed onto the kit directly, which actually makes it so much easier when you have to work with an action base, because like, you know, you don't have to worry about losing the piece or whatever now. To be completely honest, this kit is probably the closest thing Bandai has ever done to perfection so far. And I know that's quite the exaggeration, but Bandai has really improved a lot of their smaller design decisions that are not nearly as flashy, and it's really starting to add up in this kit. I'm really impressed. But personally, for me, this design isn't really my favorite. I'm not saying that I don't like the design. If I didn't like the design, I wouldn't have bought this kit, but this kit isn't my personal favorite. I think still the MG Zeta Ver.Ka is my favorite, but I'm really interested in seeing what MG kits in the future will look like, because if this is what the standard for MG kits will be like moving forward, to like 2 kits per year, okay, you know what, whatever. Like if you're gonna improve them like gradually like this all the time, you know what, take your time. Come on, I'll be fine. I'm not sure if the rest of the fan base will agree with me, but this is just what I personally think, because, you know, quality over quantity and all that stuff. And that's the end of the video. So if you really enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and giving me a like. It really helps me out. I also get to figure out, you know, it's like, oh, what kind of content should I make and such and such. Also, leave me a comment. Tell me if this is your favorite MG kit, or what is your favorite MG kit. Are you excited to build this? And how should I improve my videos? As you can see, I'm still figuring it out. I changed my setup, like I think it's the first time actually, but still. Also, sorry for taking so long to edit this video. I'm also incredibly experienced when it comes to editing, and I'm still trying to figure out what I should do first and what should I do. I think I re-edited and like re-recorded like certain parts of the video several times already during the duration of this just editing this video, and I kind of just like, I may or may not have procrastinated and just done other things or something as well, but still, either way, thank you for watching, and wherever you are, have a nice day, my dudes.